Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life, and today I'm going to be talking about some nutritional myths. Now, I've been reading a few things recently online and in the media that I'm a little bit frustrated about. So I thought I felt called today to really bust some common myths that might still be being propagated in the general media. So here are my top 10. Number 1, the myth that we should be eating little and often. Now, this one is still being touted by nutritionists, dietitians, and lots of other health practitioners, despite a ton of research that shows unless you're diabetic or you have hypoglycemic episodes, or, e.g. you get dizzy or faint if you don't eat regularly, the body generally doesn't do that well on grazing all day. And that's because every time we eat, we produce insulin. Too much insulin means too much fat storing and too much inflammation generally. So if you leave 4 to 6 hours between eating, you give your body the chance to use up your sugar stores and start burning fat for energy, right? If you're constantly eating, you're only going to be burning sugar. So you're going to find it hard to lose weight and you're going to be on a bit of a blood sugar roller coaster. Number 2, saturated fat causes heart disease. Well, this is one we've been battling with for quite some time. We've been told to avoid saturated fat since the 1950s, when a study was done by a man called Ansel Keys. Now, he linked dietary fat with heart disease, but the study has now been found to be severely flawed, as he was very selective about what he published. Since then, we've been told constantly to avoid saturated fats and eat more polyunsaturated fats. Margarines, cheap vegetable oils, seed oils, that kind of stuff. And obesity and heart disease have rocketed as we've naturally switched from fat to mainly carbs. We've got to replace it with something. Now, the problem with obviously carbs increasing obesity, diabetes, etc. But the problem with polyunsaturated fats is that many of these vegetable oils are quite unstable when they're heated and treated. And that's what most processed foods are made with, vegetable oils and fairly industrial, cheap stuff. They turn into trans fats. The body doesn't really know what to do with trans fats. So they're rich in omega-6 fats, which can be quite inflammatory. And recent studies have shown that saturated fat actually raises HDL, which is your good cholesterol. So hopefully the research is now overturning this very outdated advice. Number 3, skimmed milk and low-fat yogurts are healthy. So moving on from that saturated fat thing, when you take the fat out of a food by processing it, you take out much of the taste. Fat tastes good, right? So they have to replace it with something, otherwise it's going to taste revolting. Now, they usually replace it with sugar or some kind of food chemicals. Natural foods contain fat for a reason. It's there because we need fat as a nutrient. Our brains are 60% fat, our hormones are made from fat, every single cell is lined with fats. It's there to help us absorb the fat-soluble vitamins. Fat doesn't raise your blood sugar, so it fills you up so that you're not reaching for a snack later on, and it tastes good. So it's there for a reason. So choose full-fat organic milk and full-fat natural yogurts, organic where possible, over anything low-fat. It's really not doing you any good. Number 4, the vegan diet is the most healthy diet. And I hear this a lot, especially recently, because there's a big move towards eating more vegan, plant-based diets. Firstly, there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all diet. I've known people that thrive on a vegan diet and some who have suffered quite badly. Secondly, you can have a really, really healthy vegan diet and you can have a really, really unhealthy one. So it totally depends on what kind of food you're eating. The unhealthy ones are full of processed foods, meat substitutes, refined carbs, and pretty much junky stuff. One vegan client I was working with was eating chips and bread all day, but she thought she was being healthy because she was vegan. Okay, thirdly, there are nutrients that you can only get from animal foods. Vitamin D, B12, and the most absorbable forms of iron, being 3 of them. So you do need to make sure you're supplementing appropriately if you're on a vegan diet. Number 5, carbs are bad for you. If you don't eat any carbs, you're going to be severely ill. Carbohydrates are a macronutrient. They're needed for all sorts of processes in the body. The thing you need to be aware of is there are different types of carbs. Not that the fact that you're eating carbs, right? So you need to be eating the right kinds. Now, all vegetables are made up from carbohydrates. So if you're eating a no-carb diet, you're not going to be eating any veg, and of course, that's not going to be very nourishing. And most nutritionists would recommend at least sort of half your plate is made up of veggies. So that's your carbs, yeah? And then the rest of your carbs should be coming from low glycemic load carbs. So carbs that release sugar a little bit less slowly into the bloodstream, like bran or wild rice, like quinoa, oats, kind of buckwheat, those kind of grains. And avoiding the white refined carbs where they release the sugar directly, very quickly into the blood. Okay, number 6. This is running on from the last one. It's more healthy to eat a slice of bread than a bowl of table sugar. Is it? So I base how healthy your food is on how fast and how much that food raises your blood sugar. Well, one of the factors anyway. Too much blood sugar can put a big stress on the body, as your body needs to take that out and get rid of it. Too much blood sugar stores too much fat, it raises insulin, and it increases your risk of diabetes, obesity, cancer, and heart disease. So it's really, really important to keep your blood sugar nice and stable. And that means not eating too much glucose. Glucose is a form of sugar, but it's not always as easy and clear as that. Table sugar is a mix of glucose and sucrose, but bread is mainly glucose. So that means that bread, especially white and brown bread, raise your blood sugar more quickly than table sugar. Interesting. Number 7, eat lots of green juices and smoothies. The problem with juices is that they are mostly high in sugar. They don't have any protein or fat in them generally if you're eating pure juice. Now, protein and fat help to slow that release of sugar into the bloodstream, and you also need protein for your liver to work properly, to detoxify it. So if you're doing a juice program to detox yourself, you're not actually helping your liver to do that if you're skipping the protein. You also need fat to absorb your fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. So I do prefer green smoothies as they include the fibre from the fruit and veg, and they don't hit your blood sugar quite as much. The problem is with green smoothies is that a lot of people make them with spinach. Now, spinach is a very nutritious, rich food, but it is rich in something called oxalates. Now, oxalates, when you have a lot of them, they can form oxalic acid in the body, and that can form kidney stones. So eating lots of raw spinach can increase that risk quite significantly. So don't just use spinach in your smoothies. Mix up your greens. Use kale, greens, salad leaves, whatever you've got. Where are we? 8. Coffee's bad for you. Well, I still see and hear nutritionists and dietitians telling people to give up coffee. Well, that's not actually necessary unless you get very jittery, you get anxious, and you're not sleeping very well. But generally, for the rest of us, there are tons of studies now that show that actually coffee can reduce risk of several diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. So caffeine does increase blood pressure temporarily, but scientists think that it's the real antioxidants in the coffee bean that are very protective. But again, caveat, caffeine's not for everyone. Some people don't detoxify it very well. And if you have any of those symptoms I mentioned, then you need to stay away. Number 9, organic foods, not worth the money. Well, organic food is more expensive. But, you know, if you really value your health and you know about what pesticides can do, you're probably going to be willing to spend a bit more. Pesticides, not only toxic to our cells, but they also just depleting the soil of nutrients. So they're going to make the vegetables slightly less nutritious. But pesticides are a known endocrine disruptor. So for us women over 40, we really need to be avoiding them as much as possible. Number 10, agave nectar is a healthy substitute for sugar. Well, agave nectar's been around for a while, and it's mainly made of fructose. So many of us have been using it because it's not glucose and it doesn't raise your blood sugar, which is true. But it does go straight to the liver, and this can be very damaging for the liver. So just look up high fructose corn syrup from America, which is what a lot of their processed products have been using, and just have a look at what that does to your liver. So not good. Better substitute for sugar, eat just organic maple syrup, bit of raw honey. Xylitol is a good one. It's a powdered sugar that doesn't raise your blood sugar but doesn't have all these effects on your liver as well. Stevia is a nice one if you can stand that sort of bitter aftertaste. So these are my top 10 nutrition myths that need busting for now. They will change. do comment if you have any questions on any of them. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. And if you need personalised help with anything, whether it's your diet or your hormones or your gut, do get in touch and we'll set up a one-to-one call with one of the team. Have a great day. Bye.